write even more blog posts and at the same time have some visibility in the broader audience. So with that, I invite Richard to do the
Thank you for that kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here to deliver this keynote.
You want to use okay. No, okay, sorry. The volume is not right.
Or it's not turned on.
Yeah, it's the maximum. Because otherwise it makes a weird sound.
Okay.
But if you prefer to use the other
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Yes, as I said, it's a pleasure to be here to deliver this keynote, especially your beautiful country. I would like to thank the Advocacy for inviting me, making it happen. I've been a Smalltalk advocate for Smalltalk for the past 4 years. I would like to explain why I did it, what my motivation was, what my strategy was, and what the outcome was. But first, let's begin with a little bit of history. The IT industry has held a dirty little secret for more than 5 decades. Since the 1960s, we wrote programs in a singularly consistent fashion, using textual programming languages, text editors, and storing our source code in files and folders. The files contained long reams of code that were arduous to read. We compiled our source code and built our application from the command line. Even with today's modern IDEs, we are indirectly still doing this. We tested our application, and if it failed, we had to diagnose the problem, edit the code, and recompile. And if it failed again, we had to repeat. This edit, compile, test, debug cycle was time-consuming and inefficient. Very little has changed today. Our languages are a bit fancier. Our text editors are more comprehensive. But we are still slaves to files, folders, and command line. To borrow a phrase from Star Trek's The City on the Edge of Forever, we are effectively programming using stone knives and bear sticks. As a result, our productivity has suffered. With the right tools, we could double our productivity. We could create software in half the time that it takes us now, on average. How much is that worth to our economy and our industry? Ironically, this possible future has been staring us in the face for more than 40 years, but we've been too blind to see it. There is a Peter Allen song that goes like this: "Don't throw the past away. You might need it some rainy day. Dreams can come true again, like everything old is evil then." This is most applicable to Smalltalk. It has a great historical legacy. It has been proven in the field countless times. According to Keepers Jones of Namco Analytics, the leading authority on software metrics, Smalltalk is the most productive of all the programming languages. Only languages like MUMPS and Mathematica are more productive, but who really wants to use those languages for general programming? Ever since a friend of mine introduced me to Smalltalk, about 11 years ago, I've been fascinated by the language. I wondered why it wasn't more popular. Despite all the material you can find on the web about Smalltalk, including some advocacy, people just weren't paying much attention to it. I believed it was because Smalltalk wasn't being marketed properly. Technical conferences didn't reach enough people. Technical articles full of code examples weren't compelling. Smalltalk was roundly ignored in social media. A loud voice was needed, in my opinion. And I decided to be that voice, because frankly, nobody else was stepping up to the plate. My strategy was to publish lots and lots of articles extolling the virtues of Smalltalk. The articles would have to be eye-catching, so I adorned them with attractive images. I made heavy use of the famous hot air balloon motif that was popularized by Byte magazine. When Byte published a cover story on Smalltalk in August of 1981, Smalltalk became something of a sensation in the programming community. It was so influential that languages like Objective-C, Erlang, and the Common Lisp object system would draw their inspiration from it. Much later, Ruby, Python, Groovy, Scala, Dart, and others would follow suit. Here's a favorite image I've used very frequently. I chose it because it is simply breathtaking. It evokes freedom and adventure in one's mind. Here's another. I have a collection of about 24 similar images, and I've used them very effectively. I hammered home the 6 key advantages of Smalltalk. I emphasized the live coding, the power of live coding, and the fact that Smalltalk was a system of live objects. The IDE organizes code as a collection of classes and methods, not long reams of code stored in text files. Brett Victor referred to this as representing source code in a two-dimensional spatial fashion. There are no source files. Your eyes are focused only on classes and methods. On Wednesday, Tudor Gerba showed us the next major innovation and evolution in this idea. Of course, this morning's talk by Andre also emphasized that too. I showed that Smalltalk syntax was supremely simple and easy to use. Using a postcard I meticulously created. Smalltalk postcards have been used in the past, but they weren't particularly attractive. This one has been quite a hit. It is easily the most viewed image in my collection. I discussed live coding as the premier quality in Smalltalk programming, and how it was responsible for Smalltalk's incredible productivity. In a 2017 paper, Hebers-Jones of Namco Analytics ranked languages according to popularity. Here are some of the numbers. Among the least productive are C, Fortran, and surprisingly JavaScript. JavaScript is a very hot language currently, but not as productive as web developers claim. Ruby is fairly productive. So is Objective-C, but very few are as productive as Smalltalk. See, you want to have to put it out there. It is important to understand that the Namco Analytics study is not saying all these languages are productive across the board. Excel is most productive for spreadsheet applications, Bumps is most productive for hospital and healthcare applications. But only Smalltalk is the all-round most productive language. A word about the apparent clustering in the data. For example, C++, Java, and Python have the same number of work hours. As Capers-Jones explains it, this table represents the synthesis of data sources from numerous client studies collected over the years and normalized to give you this clustering. The clustering is a side effect of the statistical methods applied to the data. I get a lot of pushback on this back on the web. That's why I mentioned it. But I believe that Capers-Jones study is perfectly valid. In the 1990s, Smalltalk became the most popular object-oriented language in the world after C++. C++ has the lion's share, but Smalltalk is a respectable 15%, well above the rest of the field. Here's a page from Computer World, November 6, 1995, showing Smalltalk in C++ duking it out. Smalltalk was so good for business use that IBM chose it as a centerpiece of their Visual Age Enterprise Initiative to replace COBOL. Obviously, IBM did not make this decision lightly. So, how do you market Smalltalk? My strategy was simple. For years, people had written numerous technical articles and given numerous technical talks. People had been contributing to various open source projects. But the if you build it, they will come philosophy wasn't working. Appealing to people on an intellectual basis wasn't working. Smalltalk was still being ignored. What needed to be done, I surmised, was to appeal to people on an emotional level, the same way that it's done in marketing and advertising. Smalltalk needed to promote itself in the same way that Apple promotes iPhone and Elon Musk promotes Tesla. I recounted the numerous historical contributions by Smalltalk. I reminded the public of Smalltalk's popularity 30 years ago. I listed major users of Smalltalk. I showed how Smalltalk was enormously versatile. I kept the marketing messages clear, simple, and focused. And I repeated these messages over and over again. The result is that my articles have reached many tens of thousands of people around the world. One of them, entitled How Learning Smalltalk Can Make You a Better Developer, garnered over 70,000 views. At Code Project, a similar article was viewed 12,000 times. On Quora, I answered thousands of questions with recommendations to learn Smalltalk programming. These answers were read by tens of thousands as well. So overall, a lot more people are aware of Smalltalk today. I believe I've dispelled the perception of Smalltalk's demise, but perhaps that's just hubris. I tried to create a Smalltalk programming competition in my home country of Canada. Unfortunately, I couldn't secure the funding However, my effort may give you some more marketing ideas. Here's a poster that I created. The contest would have been called the James Robertson Memorial Programming Competition, in honor of the late James Robertson, who was a tireless advocate of Smalltalk. Here's the competition website I created. This is an embedded video promo video that I also created. And I'm going to try to show it to you now. Let me see this here. Okay, this is another page from my website. It shows the participating team. You got the school hard knocks. You got the schools in my neighborhood.
If you use a knife, it will.
Oh, yes. This is the leaderboard. It shows the top 3 teams.
No, it's not working. Don't worry, it's not working. It's not working. The goals are against that.
Okay, where was that? And I also designed a couple of t-shirts. I like these t-shirts. I wish I could have created them or produced them. Okay. Another thing I'm hoping for is continuing advocacy for the Smalltalk community. I've made a lot of noise these last 4 years, but it wasn't stopping me. I urge all Smalltalkers around the globe to continue the work I've done. Make your voice heard on social media. Write blogs that target newcomers and business executives. Go beyond just technical writing. Make the marketing of Smalltalk a priority. I have some suggestions for making your voice heard more clearly. When you write with clarity and passion. Use attractive, eye-catching images in your blogs. It's not easy to develop one's writing skills. It can only come with practice. Just like programming, the more you write, the better you'll become. Let passion be your guide. It will show in your writing. Use your imagination. It never ceases to amaze me how many ideas pop into my head when I'm relaxed and focused on small talk. Tell people your story. Why did you choose small talk? Why did you choose to stay with it? What makes you happy when you use small talk? Know the history of the language so that you can present lots of intriguing facts to support your recommendations. Many of my articles contain good examples. In closing, I bet you were waiting for this. Let me just say this. Small talk deserves a better fate than it has received in the past 20 years. Far too many developers today have either never heard of small talk or they believe small talk is a defunct language. Small talk has the potential to double the world's software development productivity on average. This would be hugely impactful on the IT industry and our economy. For me, however, the greatest benefit of small talk is that it brings fun back into programming. The cognitive load presented by Java and Python and C++ was never fun for me. With small talk, I can understand the entire system. There are no dark corners. Programming in small talk brings a smile to my face. And at the end of the day, that's really the only thing that truly matters. Muchas gracias. Any questions?
Yeah, so I have a question. What are the most usual questions you get on your articles online from people who are learning?
Well, they're usually more like complaints or criticisms. Like I said before, one of the common complaints is that they say that Cambridge-Jones study is fake. So some would call it like fake news or not valid because they saw the clustering effect. So I'm always having to explain, why there's a clustering effect in the data. People still insist that small talk is hardly used. So I'm always having to defend myself, defend the language by showing, by listing JP Morgan and Orient overseas container lines and so on and so forth, to show that it actually still is being used. I mean, these are projects in the last 20 years. I also very frequently mention the J-Wars project, the battle simulation program that was written by the U.S. joint military. It's a million-line program. It's huge. And it actually outperforms a similar simulation called Storm, written in C++ by the U.S. Air Force. So I always try to hammer home that example because it's a great example. Other questions? I think those are two main ones I can remember. Yes.
What approach do you think the Smalltalk community should have in order to gain some terrain in the industry?
Well, you really do have to get businesses to adopt the language, and I'm not sure that if many business executives really know about small talk. So you want to target your message to these people, and so you want to try to publish articles in enterprise magazines like InfoWorld and eWeek and so on. I don't know if using social media reaches these people, unfortunately, because I think the head of major corporations don't spend their time surfing the web. They don't follow Twitter feeds or Facebook feeds. So how do you get this message to them, right? that's a crucial thing that we need to solve. And hopefully someone can find a way to do that. If we can get companies to adopt Smalltalk and not be afraid that there are not enough Smalltalkers to hire to do the projects, then I think this will start the ball rolling in general adoption. Because one way or the other, we have to grow our community, right? And it really starts with adoption by the enterprise. Yes?
I have another question. Regarding the different Smalltalk distributions that we have, what's your opinion about that? Do you think that they help each other, or it's not good for the community?
That's a good question. Fragmentation is a serious problem. And that brings up another question that people say. They say, there are so many Smalltalks, which one do I use? So I usually just fall back and say, use Faro, because it's open source, it's free, it's the most actively developed Smalltalk there is out there. But if you really need enterprise support, you have lots of options. You have Syncom's Visual Works, you have VA Smalltalk, Gemstone S. There's even Smalltalk MT, which is high performance Smalltalk just for Windows. So, but you're right. I mean, there's Squeak, there's Faro, there's Quiz, there's Amber. I mean, so many. If you feel confused, it's the same situation in Linux. In Linux, there are hundreds of distros. Which one do you use? So when people ask me that, I usually just point to Linux Mint or Ubuntu or something like that, right? But we have to find a way to solve the fragmentation problem. And I'm not saying that we should just ignore all the other distros, but I think we should focus on one or two, like Faro, or else, and try to guide most people towards that. Because once they learn Faro, then they're well prepared to move to other distros, other Smalltalks if they need to.
So, for those of us who enjoy writing, what are your recommendations in terms of the structure of the article? Like, I guess that the title is vital for getting more attention. Could you say something about the structure, where to put, I don't know, the parts that make gain interest from the reader?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good to have a catchy title, and I usually try to come up with a catchy title. But I find that if you're going to publish articles on social media, having an eye-catching banner image, like the images that I showed you, helps a lot. It makes it look more professional. If all you have is just an article without a banner image, people can more easily ignore it or just skip over it. But if you catch their eye, they'll be curious and they'll want to read some more. And also I find that you don't want to write really long articles. You'll notice that most of my articles are pretty short. The average is like 2 or 3 minute read. Because just like in marketing or advertising, you want a focused message. When Apple advertises iPhone, they don't list a ton of features, right? They don't overwhelm you with technical details. They give you one clear, simple message in each ad to try to ingrain that into your mind. Well, we should do the same thing with advocacy articles. Don't write a 10-minute article that talks about a dozen different things. Write many different articles that focus on one or two key points in each article. That's what I do. And that's probably why I have hundreds of articles published.
Question?
Yes?
So you didn't get the support you were looking for to run the competition you mentioned?
Right.
How much support, how big of an effort was that? How much were you trying to
Oh, well, initially I was aiming for 25,000. This would have been a very grand competition for $25,000. But then I lowered it to 20,000 because I wanted to make it a bit easier to reach that goal. For me, the minimum viable competition would have been $15,000. But I wanted to do a little bit more than that because $15,000 doesn't get you too far. I mean, it'll pay for the prize money, and but
How far did you get towards the point now?
unfortunately, I only got 3,000. I was actually counting on major support from SimCom, but that sort of fell through.
If you got your support now, would you continue the competition?
Oh, absolutely.
I'll support it.
I want to do a competition.
Okay, speechless.
I am. It's amazing. I actually contacted the CEO of Instantiations, but I couldn't get him to bite either. So I'm glad that I made this offer because I think this will go a long way to promote small talk.
Sure, but let's do it to the big one in 25.
Oh, wow. Okay. My partner in this competition is David Buck. I don't know if you know David Buck.
No.
He's the head of Cimarron. It's a small talk house in Ottawa. So he'll be very pleased to hear about this.
Okay, guys, we have to go for lunch now. So thank you very much, Vance, Richard, and we all have to start writing, and not only writing. I think we first have to read these articles, at least the ones that are more popular, because that will give us ideas and clues on how to write ourselves. And we have to create some environment using this. Wow.
They are.